It's one of our, I believe, actually most active days ever, beating even the Super Bowl, which is generally one of our most popular days of the year. And that's because this issue is near and dear to every internet user's heart, not just on Reddit, but across the country. And you see broad support for the current regulations on Reddit, and where it's very hard to find an issue where Redditors agree pretty much across the board, and this is one of them.
Steve, some of the scenarios that I see people posting on what the world post Title II is going to look like are frankly ridiculous. There seems to be very little nuance or depth in a lot of the arguments either for or against net neutrality. How is the online forum either contributing to that or mitigating that effect, perhaps educating people? I don't see a lot of very educated discussion.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by ridiculous. It's pretty easy to find examples of what the world is going to look like. All we have to do
these
is look,
rate tables saying here's how much
years.
You're going to have to pay for WhatsApp, or here's how much you're going to pay for a single show if net neutrality rules, if Title II is repealed.
I think what makes the most sense is to look at how the ISPs/media companies behaved just a couple of years ago. You know, with AT&T blocking FaceTime, with AT&T blocking Skype, with Verizon, AT&T blocking Google Wallet. These are all examples of companies that are frankly conflicted in their duties, basically boxing out other competitors. Verizon charging their customers extra for tethering before the regulations. So it's not far-fetched to think that in a world without these regulations, these companies would do even more to separate themselves from their competition.
Like what, Steve? I mean, what are we going to see? How are they going to compete?
Well, so I think one of the problems you have here is the largest ISPs in the country are also very large media companies. And so if you're any of these companies looking at your competition and you control the customer's access to Netflix, to YouTube, to us, to anybody else, that puts you in a very powerful position. And so the entire premise of net neutrality is that all traffic is equal, which allows everybody online, small startups to big companies, to compete fairly. And that's what's allowed the internet to flourish in the US and therefore the rest of the world. And that's really what we're talking about preserving.
I think this is a good point for us to make our blanket disclaimer. CNBC is part of NBC Universal, which is owned by Comcast, which is one of the more hated ISPs, according to surveys at least. I have no dog in that fight particularly. I don't take orders from Comcast executives, but it is something that, of course, we have to disclose. But I wonder, I mean, all traffic, it seems, should not be treated equally. We don't handle roads that way. It should be treated fairly, but there are lots of cases where people want certain traffic to be prioritized. Like, if you've got TV running over an IP network, you would like quality on your TV. You just don't want a service that you want to access, that you feel like you deserve to access, to be blocked or throttled to the point of not working, right, Steve?
I'm not sure the point you're making. Right now, consumers have complete control over the quality of their internet, right? You can prioritize your own traffic on your own routers at home. And so, and the last I checked, that quality has not really been the issue. It's really when these media companies flex their muscles and effectively shut down competition, right? When AT&T blocks FaceTime, that's and saying, or you have to charge extra.
Well, AT&T's network,
to
be fair, wasn't really ready for FaceTime at the moment. We have the rise of the smartphone as a trend. The networks weren't ready. You could barely make a phone call at the time, and people wanted to FaceTime. I mean, it'd be nice, but you need to make sure the network is ready before you do that. I mean, even under these rules against blocking and throttling, there are provisions for legitimate network management.
Yeah, I would say, saying AT&T's lack of coverage, which affected phone calls, competing with FaceTime belies a little bit of a misunderstanding of how these networks work, because voice requires substantially less bandwidth. This was really AT&T deciding to charge extra for a feature that they were in the ability to do so. And that's not really fair, and it kind of flies really in the face of the concept of net neutrality in a free and open internet.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.